hopefully this will actually work now, for fuck's sakes. Switch it over. Come on, let's go. So we got our first press statement, and this is a couple days after he made some
Thank you guys for coming. I know our first official press briefing is going to be on Monday, but I wanted to give you a few updates on the president's activities. But before I get to the news of the day, I think I'd like to discuss a little bit of the coverage of the past 24 hours. Yesterday, at a time when our nation and the world was watching the peaceful transition of power, and as the president said, the transition and the balance of power from Washington to the citizens of the United States, some members of the media were engaged in deliberately false reporting. For all the talk about the proper use of Twitter, two instances yesterday stand out. One was a particularly egregious example in which a reporter falsely tweeted out that the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. had been removed from the Oval Office.
That one, of course, is true. Nobody's denying that. He retracted the statement afterwards, so let's just skip to the real story.
Responsible and reckless. Secondly, photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall.
I do believe that, however, is true. They definitely did not want to make Trump look great. Okay, the whole point of these photos. Look how big Obama's crowd is compared to Trump's crowd. Okay, fine. Don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, but they are trying to frame it as Trump has no support, even though he won the fucking Electoral College. So I don't know how the fuck you win the Electoral College without, you know, a good chunk of Americans voting for you. Oh my God, it's not the popular. Well, okay, but he didn't campaign in California. Like, he didn't campaign for California. Jesus Christ. Use your fucking marbles, people.
This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual.
I don't know, maybe. Don't really give a shit. Like, honestly, this is so petty. This is so stupid. But we have to go through it because it's the top story, right?
This is also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past.
Okay, apparently that's bullshit. That's verifiable bullshit, apparently. That is not the case. There was no things like that. However, what there was the case was the human chains blocking people in, including there was one with service members. They're blocking service members into the inauguration. So there are some immediate factors that did in fact happen that were, I guess you can say, might have affected things like, for example, the entrance into, like, getting people into the square, but not really like that.
Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers.
That is true.
Because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. By the way, this applies to any attempts to try to count the number of protesters today in the same fashion. We do know a few things, so let's go through the facts. We know that from the platform where the president was sworn in to 4th Street holds about 250,000 people.
Okay, that's estimates, right? See, now he's going to go through the estimates and say that the crowd's bigger than Obama's, which probably isn't. But at the same time, again, who gives a fuck? And honestly, the fact that the press secretary is fighting the shit out of this is just, oh my God. And he's fighting on the bad perspectives. That's annoying. That's really fucking annoying.
From 4th Street to the media tent is about another 220,000. And from the media tent to the Washington Monument, another 250,000 people.
Hello, Mary Bruce position.
All of this space was full when the president took the oath of office. We know that 420,000 people used the D.C. Metro.
What the hell is that background noise? Who the fuck?
Public transit yesterday, which actually compares to this was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
Okay, hold on here. Now we are into some strange territory. Let's call that. So the viewership that this is the biggest event. This is an interesting thing. We gotta actually go through. So now we're gonna Philip DeFranco
Sup, you
apparently
beautiful
went through all this shit with his stuff. The problem is that in his sources he lists things like Snopes and shit like that. We know we cannot trust Snopes anymore. Snopes is 100% on the fake news task force, which we all know is complete bullshit. If you have any sense, I should probably substantiate that claim. I can't remember where I've heard it from, but we do know the problem with the fake news task force is the fact that it's run by a lot of lefty websites. Not to mention Snopes. It is really just was operated for 10 fucking years by a couple in their basement. So just as credible as I am, right? But suddenly they got a whole bunch of government funding to be on this task force, the fake news task force, along with Zuckerberg's Facebook and a whole bunch of other, Silicon Valley left-leaning type things. And we do know that funding has come from somewhere. We don't know where the fuck that funding has come from. But the more important thing is who are you to tell us what is and isn't fake news? That's the issue that I think a lot of us have here. Is this like, okay, so I'm sorry, I understand the whole like, hey, fake news exists, but the fact that it's a whole bunch of left-leaning people and media organizations, like for example, the media itself is left-leaning. We do know that on a whole, and so how, if they were the gatekeepers of all the media, back before the internet, how could we trust them? We couldn't trust them, kind of thing, right? Especially when they're acting like the way they are acting these days, when we can catch them on almost all their bullshit using the power of the internet and independent journalism and an iPhone, everyone having a cell phone camera to upload to the internet in their pocket. So, journalism really has changed, and they are no longer the gatekeepers of information. And this fake news tirade really just seems to be to put them back into power as the fake news, the gatekeepers of the information, which is just really annoying. But you have to trust them, right? The mainstream media, CNN, super credible, unbiased. So anyways, Snopes goes in through a whole bunch of shit. See, the thing about this is everyone refers to this fucking image, and they're like, so this is Obama's, this is Trump's. And the thing is that there was a time-lapse photo where apparently that the crowd gets this is the height of the crowd, and then the crowd dissipates, right? See, the problem I have with this, necessarily, I'm not saying that this is 100% fake. I don't fucking know. Somebody might be able to debunk it later, but the fuck do I know? What I do know about photo editing and photo manipulation is that doesn't necessarily mean it can be true. There was one photographer up in the Washington Monument. It's very small, localized. Like, you literally have maybe 2 or 3 people that you could fabricate that story off of. I'm just saying. And it's very easy to manipulate those photos. So if you really wanted to, you could manipulate that fairly easy. But that being said, with, let's go to our actual photos. So this is the big size version, obviously, right? Obama's inauguration. Oh, look at that! Holy crap! Full of people. And then Trump's. Oh, it's so tiny, small, dinky. But and then everyone's pointing to this image. We're like, okay, we can tell that this is obviously Trump's crowd because "Make America Great Again" hats are fucking everywhere, right? And they're all wearing raincoats, which we'll get into that in a second. Now, we can see that, oh my god, look, the crowd's backed up all the way to the Washington Monument. However, that being said, we can see white here, we can see white there, and you know, it kind of coincides potentially with this. We are not really sure because of the perspectives can really fuck with you, but at the end of the day, this is still a huge fucking crowd. Let's just say that this is a big crowd, okay? This is a big crowd. This is a big crowd too. Who the fuck cares? Calm down. Calm down, guys. It's Obama had a big crowd. Trump had a big crowd. But comparative to Obama, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Washington, D.C., 97% voted for Democrat. Do you think maybe there's a reason why Trump supporters might not have showed up? Not to mention working class people, you know, they don't exactly have time to be fucking off to Washington, D.C. from Wyoming. They have to fucking, you know, work on Friday, right? I'm sorry. It's one of those factors you got to take in. And then, of course, the rain. Nobody wants to go out and sit in an inauguration in rain. Like, use your fucking brain here. So the crowd says, "Oh my God, big story, blow it out of proportion." That's my issue. Is it's blown way out of proportion. So let's get some objective, actual journalism here. Politico, apparently. I like Politico's article here. It's well balanced. So, Spencer's first official daily press briefing on Monday said that when you factor in people who stream President Donald Trump's inauguration online, it would make it the most watched presidential inauguration in history. Okay, so he wasn't talking straight up TV numbers, which we know is bogus. If he was talking straight up TV numbers, he got his ass handed to him by Ronald Reagan because nobody fucking watches cable TV news anymore. Even in the 4 years where Obama changed, it's changed a lot. He has a point, but it is one that is almost impossible to prove. The reason TV ratings and online streaming metrics are not apples to apples comparison. So there's no way to easily calculate how many people who would have watched the inauguration online in a way that is comparable to TV viewership data released by Nielsen. Okay, so it goes through the numbers, but I know I'm going to say fuck the numbers, but because even though numbers are important, but, you know, I don't really give a shit. I don't really give a shit about the numbers. It's pretty basic. Now, see, Spencer cited 17 million streams of Trump's inauguration, which he added to the 2.6 million that watched CNN live on TV. The problem is that the 26 million figure is not the total number of people that watched CNN. That is the average number of people that watched. The 17 million streams are the total number of streams, not the average number of people watching. Now you think, okay, what the hell? If there's 17 million streams open, what? Just going to explain this. That 17 million figure may include people that reloaded the web page or that clicked in and watched for 30 seconds, or people that in the inauguration started to autoplay on CNN story they click through. Okay, so anytime that web page, that stream web page is reloaded by any device anywhere for any amount of time, that gives a tick 1, increases the tick 1. Okay, you gotta understand how streaming works. The way the infrastructure works is it doesn't actually give for, I believe streaming is a UTC utility function, whereas that's how it's sending the data, and when it's sending the data, it's just going, it's just pooping out data as fast as it can, and it doesn't care, it doesn't check back and validate whether, did you get that data, did you get that data, did you get that, it doesn't care. It just keeps pooping out data, and if it stops, if it fails for a certain amount of time, then it will just stop giving data. So there's actually no way to measure when it has stopped giving data, or when it has, even when you have closed the web page and stuff like that, right? Now that's a big thing because, sure you can, with actual downloads, with, like, for example, you download a movie or something like that, or a BitTorrent, I don't give a shit what it is. You download something off of a website. There's actually a confirmation check. I can't remember. I think it's called TCP, data packet information, type of data packet utility, where it does double check. Did you get it? Did you get it? Yeah, confirmed. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And it can up a ticker, right? You can actually, use variables to up the ticker in your programming methods and blah, blah, blah. A whole bunch of technical coding stuff that I know about because of where I chose my educations in. And so that's the thing with TCU, live streaming and stuff like that. Not only is it not possible, is there no actual numbers on there? It's impossible to get them now after the fact, and it's impossible to really get them unless somebody comes up with something really clever. I don't see how it's possible to actually get them without, changing the actual infrastructure of how we send data, which means changing every single fucking computer, basically. It's kind of, well, not really every single fucking computer, but changing the entire internet almost to some extent, you know what I mean? You have to now re-update a lot of fucking software and what do you call it? It'd be like video app, ASPX type pages and stuff like that, different things like that where the pages have to run now on a new protocol and stuff like that. There's a lot in there that has to be updated, right? And so maybe there is a clever way. I have not yet to see where somebody has designed that, but whatever. That's a whole bunch of technical mumbo-jumbo, and that's just explaining it from my perspective of why this probably is not going to, anytime soon we're going to get realistic numbers on streaming, on streams, on internet streams. So, yeah. If you reloaded the page 5 times because your internet's shit or something like that, then that you count for 5 streams in Spencer's, what do you call it? In Spencer's numbers and factoring, I guess, so to speak. So have we put that to rest yet? Because I really don't give a shit about this stuff. It's so stupid. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Trump is the president. 30 million people voted for him, okay? Above 30 million people voted for him. He won all the states that he was supposed to win in the Electoral College. He's the president. It doesn't fucking matter how many crowds are out there on the inauguration day, how many were out there on Obama's inauguration day. Inauguration crowds do not are not the vote, okay? They're not the vote. They're not the election. So it doesn't fucking matter. Nor is the protester crowds. The protester crowds are not the vote, okay? I don't give a fuck how many people watched it. I don't give a fuck if 100,000 people are out on the lawn or 1 million people are out on the lawn. It takes, in this election, it took 30 million votes, at least 30 million votes on either side to win. So food for thought, okay? You're not gonna ever be able to fit in 30 million people in inauguration day. It's never gonna happen. So, fucking idiots. Anyways, nobody gives a fuck. It's stupid. They did lie a little bit.